Chosen one, today you need to hear something that will change the way you see everything you did in silence, everything you held on to when no one was watching, everything you chose to deny to protect your soul, because without knowing it, your discipline just saved you. There are battles that never reached you, not because they weren't sent, but because your obedience became an invisible barrier that stopped them. Yes, many spoke about your rigidity. They said you were too serious, too closed off, too intense. But what they didn't know is that while they were playing with life, you were preparing to survive what they would never endure. And today, heaven reveals something brutally clear to you. What was waiting for you was not light. It was not innocent. It was a test so dark, so destructive, so fierce, that if you hadn't strengthened your spirit as you did, you wouldn't be here today to hear this. Maybe you don't see it, because the worst has already been neutralized. But what had been prepared against you had one purpose only: to break you before your time, to shatter your spiritual line, to confuse your path, to destroy your mission before it could activate. And do you know how heaven defended you? It wasn't by sending an army of visible angels. It wasn't by fire or earthquakes. It was using your discipline. That decision you made to not fall into temptation, that choice to walk away from people everyone else wanted close, that strength to say no when everything inside you screamed yes, that silent habit of praying, training, studying, working quietly while everyone else slept. That's where God hid your shield. That's where your invisible defense was activated. And while you thought you were just disciplining yourself for a better future, the spiritual world already knew. Your consistency was raising walls the enemy could not climb. What was going to destroy you has already been canceled, and it was canceled because you chose to deny yourself. Do you realize now? That moment when you said, "No more," when no one understood why you pulled away, was actually the moment heaven celebrated your silent victory. Because you chose discomfort over pleasure. You chose obedience over approval. You chose the eternal over the immediate. And that saved you. Maybe you don't see everything you were delivered from. But listen to this. You have no idea what was waiting for you. The perfect trap that was already woven. The connection that would have dragged you to destruction disguised as opportunity. But you never reached that connection. Why? Because your discipline changed your route. The story was edited. The script was rewritten. And the outcome was turned in your favor, not by luck, but by conviction. There are people trapped today because they made quick decisions. Others live in cycles they don't understand because they never had the courage to say no when it was time. But you did. And that made the difference. God doesn't need you to be perfect, but He does need you to be firm. And you, chosen one, were. Even though you cried, even though you doubted, even though you wanted to give up, you didn't give in. You didn't return to the mud. You didn't cross the line. And today, you are being promoted in the unseen. You won't see a crown descending from the sky, but you will feel a new inexplicable peace, a new clarity, a different inner strength. Because you are no longer where you were. Your discipline was your passport, and now the ground you enter is different. Prepare for a different season, because what didn't destroy you positioned you. And what many don't understand is that when a chosen one endures the fire of testing without losing their essence, that's when the doors to their true mission open. You're not here by chance. You're here because you endured it. And that silent endurance just changed your destiny. And do you know what's most shocking? While others looked for shortcuts, you chose the narrow path. While many surrendered to easy pleasure, you denied yourself. While most were carried by the current of comfort, you walked against the system, against your own impulses, against what seemed easier. Because even though no one noticed, you were fighting in the invisible. What you called routine was actually spiritual training. What you thought was wasted time was God shielding your mind, tempering your character, and sharpening your spiritual hearing for what's coming. It wasn't in vain, not a tear, not a surrender, not a single day of disciplined effort was wasted. Everything was counted. Everything was recorded. Chosen one, listen carefully. You have no idea what was waiting for you on the other side of your surrender. What you thought was just a phase of exhaustion, doubt, divine silence, was actually a spiritual ambush, a subtle attack perfectly planned by forces that didn't want to see you advance. And if it weren't for your discipline, for that inner structure you built day after day, that attack would have destroyed you. Yes, I'm speaking to that part of you that was about to give up everything, that part that wanted to quit, that felt there was no point in continuing the fight. But something inside you wouldn't let you fall. It was stronger than fear, deeper than sadness. It was your commitment to the unseen, your loyalty to the eternal. It was that silent voice telling you, don't stop. Keep moving forward. Hold on a little longer. And today you understand, your discipline wasn't a burden, it was your armor. Every decision you made when no one was watching. Every time you chose what was right instead of what was comfortable. Every time you stayed silent instead of reacting. Every prayer you released, even when you had no strength. All of that built a wall the enemy couldn't break down. Do you know why you're still here? Because your discipline saved you from spiritual sabotage, from people who pretended to love you, from doors that closed to protect you, from paths that seemed promising but led to your destruction. Chosen one, the entire universe watched silently as you were refined in the fire of routine. It wasn't a spectacle, it was formation. Because the chosen one is not forged on stages, but in deserts. It's not in applause where their power is revealed, but in the ordinary days where no one applauds, where there is only work, prayer, and perseverance. That was your training. And now is the moment when heaven begins to reveal the why of your process. You start to notice that what once hurt now empowers you, that what seemed like a curse was protection, that the people who walked away were removed by the divine hand so they wouldn't contaminate what is to come. What awaited you wasn't simply an emotional fall. It was a spiritual chain that would have trapped you in a lesser version of yourself. It would have made you doubt your calling. It would have turned your vision into fog, and worst of all, it would have persuaded you to settle for a life that wasn't yours. But it didn't work. Do you know why? Because even though you cried, you didn't break. Even though you felt fear, you didn't run. Even though no one applauded, you didn't stop moving forward. And that changes everything. Because in the spiritual world, there is a law. Those who don't give up cause celestial ruptures. Those who resist beyond their limit open portals of favor that can't be explained. And you are about to step into one of those portals. That's why you're feeling the atmosphere has changed, that there's something in the air, that your dreams are more intense, that your spirit is restless. It's not anxiety, it's activation. Things are moving in your favor, things that had been blocked for years. Opportunities that others took before you are now being returned. Connections that ignored you before will now seek you out. And when that happens, listen closely to this. It's not a coincidence, it's a consequence. The consequence of a disciplined life, of a clean heart, of a trained mind, of a spirit that didn't negotiate its purpose. Don't underestimate the power of your consistency. Because while others shined for moments, you were building depth. And now, the deep will lift the visible. So get ready. Honor is coming. The reward is on its way. But also comes the weight of leadership. Because what heaven is about to place in your hands isn't small. It's responsibility. It's territory. It's a word that transforms. It's resources that bless others. And that's why discipline was necessary. Because without it, you would have lost yourself in success. You would have sold yourself for flattery. You would have betrayed yourself for a false door. But now, you are different. You don't seek validation. You seek purpose. You don't want fame. You want direction. And that is what makes heaven choose you. Not because you are the most capable, but because you are the most steadfast. Not because you never fell, but because every time you fell, you got back up. That's why now, where others will be confused, you will have vision. Where others will be promoted and lost, you will be elevated and remain. Because you already know what it is to resist in the darkness, and that makes you dangerous to the system. Listen to this. The enemy does not fear the talented, it fears the disciplined. Because they don't depend on motivation, they depend on conviction, and you are one of those. You are pure conviction. You are a fire that never goes out. So, when favor begins to manifest, when doors open one after another, when what seemed impossible starts to come with ease, don't question it. Don't feel guilty. Don't believe you don't deserve it. Because this is the fruit of your sowing. It is spiritual justice. It is heaven saying, "Well done, faithful servant. Now enter your reward." Chosen one, take a deep breath for a moment. Because what you're about to hear is not just a simple message. It's a warning, a revelation, and a confirmation. Your discipline was not in vain. Every day you refused to fall. Every time you decided to stand firm when everything inside you screamed to give up. Every moment of silence, prayer, study, fasting, isolation, every voluntary sacrifice. All of that not only built your character, it saved you. Literally, it saved you. There were things coming your way. Attacks disguised as opportunities. Relationships that would have drained your essence. Doors that opened with traps inside. Alliances that would have destroyed your sacred destiny. But your discipline created an invisible shield, a field of protection that only the chosen develop through their obedience. You have no idea how many traps the universe had to deactivate because you decided to stay pure. You have no idea how many diseases, emotional ruins, or spiritual collapses were avoided by your perseverance. Others thought you were wasting time, but those connected to the highest knew you were shielding yourself for the day of the final assault. And listen closely. Many who started with you are no longer here. They didn't fall for lack of talent, but for lack of discipline. They gave in to the flesh, ego, pride, comfort, and they couldn't withstand the pressure that you did. You, chosen one, were forged in the fire of restraint, not as punishment, but as assignment. Because those who will hold great riches, great influence, and great purposes first need to hold themselves. Discipline is the secret test of future kings, and you passed it. There is a spiritual scene that belongs to you now, a scene where dark forces had prepared a feast of deception, a stage set for your downfall. And when they arrived, you were not there. Your discipline made you invisible to the enemy's radar. Your perseverance diverted disaster. Your firmness frustrated your opponent's plan. Heaven smiled, hell retreated. And you kept walking, unaware that you had just avoided your ruin. This is not a metaphor. It is real. There were demonic movements to stop you. But your small, silent, constant decisions built a wall they couldn't break through. Do you understand now? Do you understand why heaven insisted so much that you stay aligned? Do you understand why every time you wanted to stray, something inside you screamed no? It wasn't just morals, it was survival. It was part of the contract you signed before coming here. Yes, chosen one. You did not come to this life like everyone else. You came with a signature, a mark, a mission. And that mission activated enemies you did not provoke. That's why your path was harder. That's why your training was longer. That's why your pressure was more intense. But today, finally, you're seeing why. Your discipline activated divine intervention. Entire gospels can be summarized in one word: obedience. And you were obedient, even when it hurt, even when no one saw, even when there were no applause or immediate results. Chosen one, listen. There are crowns being carved right now with your name. There are resources being released. There are territories left vacant because others failed, and they will be given to you, not out of pride, not out of arrogance, but because you resisted. And if you think this was a coincidence, let me tell you, many who were more prepared than you have already fallen by the wayside. Because human preparation does not replace spiritual discipline. It's not the strong who conquer, but the constant. It's not the swift who arrive first, but the firm. And you were firm. New times are opening now, not only to receive, but to govern. You will be a voice for others still in their struggle. You will be a living example that discipline does pay off. That sacrifice is not loss. That restraint is not failure. That silence is also protection. Prepare yourself, chosen one, because the coming days will be days of manifestation. You will see with your own eyes what others only imagined. You will receive in your hands what others despised. You will speak with authority because you paid the price with your life. Your discipline saved you, but now it positions you. And this new level will not be easier, it will be higher. More vision, more attacks, more tests, but also more support. Because heaven already knows you, and it knows that you will not give up. You would have been lost, and not by accident, but because the enemies knew exactly where to strike to destroy you. They knew your weak points, your past patterns, your old vices, your unhealed wounds. They knew that if they hit the right spot at the right time, you would fall. But this time, you didn't fall. And it wasn't by chance. It was your discipline. It was your firmness. It was that new version of you that no longer responds like before. It was that spiritual muscle you developed in secret when no one applauded you, when no one was watching, when everything inside you wanted to give up, but you chose to move forward. Chosen one, you have no idea how great the danger was that you avoided by not giving in. Because the attack was planned, the sabotage was underway, the darkness was aligned to make you fall. But your new inner structure disarmed them. They looked at you with the same eyes as before, but they found a different spirit. Stronger, more awake, more aware. You no longer react, you choose. You no longer fall into provocation. You no longer respond with weakness to what used to break you. Because you have been trained. And although the training was brutal, it made you indestructible. Today you stand because you knew how to say no, because you learned to close doors, because you preferred to lose an opportunity than to betray your essence. And that, beloved chosen, is what just saved you. The heavens saw it. They took note, and a new stage has been activated over you. Because whoever masters their body, their tongue, their energy, their reaction, that person can rule the world, and you are already qualified. But listen carefully. This was not just a personal victory. It was a generational liberation. Because if you had fallen, an entire line of purpose would have been extinguished. You are not alone in this. You are carrying inheritances, legacies, destinies that go beyond your present life. Your discipline didn't just save you, it saved those who come after you. It saved the fruits you have yet to see. It saved the visions that have yet to manifest. And that is why today the heavens bend over you. That is why new keys are being handed to you. Because whoever passes the soul's test is ready to receive the riches of the Spirit. And now it's your turn to manage blessing. Listen, your new season will not come loaded with repeated temptations. It will come with higher levels, greater responsibilities, bigger rewards, and a revelation that will break you inside with so much light. But beware, because this is not a time to relax. It's time to hold on to what you've won. The most dangerous war is not the one at the beginning. It's the one that comes after victory. When the soul relaxes, when the ego inflates, when you think you've already defeated everything, that's when you must be most alert. That's where true maturity is tested. And you are not called just to win a battle. You are called to establish a kingdom. Repeat this to yourself. My discipline is my protection. My consistency is my sword. My focus is my shield. And I will not let go of what heaven gave me for moments of temporary weakness. Because look around you. Everything is changing. The pieces are moving. The spiritual map has been reconfigured to make room for your purpose. Don't stray. Don't get distracted. Don't lose what costs so much to build. Because what's coming will make all that came before make sense. Your pain will have an explanation. Your tears will become testimony. And your discipline will be the foundation upon which others will build. You were watched. You were evaluated, and you were approved. And now, prepare yourself, because the level of manifestation coming into your life will require the best version of you every day. There is no longer room for mediocrity, no place for just okay. Now you are a channel, an ambassador, a builder of the new age. And if you are seeing this message, it's no coincidence, it's confirmation. You know it in your spirit. There is something in you that vibrates differently. It's as if everything you lived was only the prelude to the real thing. Well, the real has arrived, And you, chosen, are ready. Not because you feel strong, but because you were broken, rebuilt, and strengthened in the truth. And that truth is your armor. Walk firmly. Do not fear external voices. Do not be disturbed by the noise of the world. You already defeated the hardest part, yourself. And now, the portal's open. Blessings begin to flow. Honor comes from places where you were once rejected, because God was guarding you for this moment. And even if you have no idea of all you avoided, I assure you this: your discipline was the angel that stood between you and destruction. And because of that, your story changed. I'll say it to you again with total clarity. It wasn't by chance. Nothing you lived through, suffered, or endured was in vain. You were standing at the edge of an abyss you couldn't see. And it was your discipline, that inner strength no one applauded, that silent obedience when no one was watching, that saved you. Your flesh screamed to give up. Your mind tempted you with 1,000 excuses to quit. But you decided to move forward. You chose to stand firm, even when everything seemed to be falling apart. And that, exactly that, was what triggered heaven to move in your favor. What awaited you was devastating. A subtle, dark plan, disguised as an opportunity, meant to divert you just before your rise. But your habits, your consistency, your personal boundaries acted as a spiritual shield, and the enemy failed to touch you. Look around. Maybe you feel nothing has changed yet, but you're on a completely different timeline. You were diverted from disaster and redirected toward the manifestation of your purpose. The pieces have already begun to move. There are people feeling your energy without understanding why. Doors that were closed are beginning to open. Blessings bearing your name that can no longer be stopped. Do you know why? Because when heaven examined you, it found you approved. Many begin, few finish. Many declare faith, but few endure the silence. You did. And that makes you one of the few, one of the set apart, one of the chosen. This message is not to motivate you. It is to confirm you, to let you know everything you felt in your spirit was real, that you weren't exaggerating when you sensed something great was coming, that your life wasn't about surviving the day, but fulfilling an eternal calling. God has already signed the decree. The change will be visible, not gradual, not step by step. What's coming is a sudden explosion of grace, honor, and revelation, because He can entrust that to you now, because your character was forged in the fire. Prepare to be called to places where you were once ignored. Prepare to be blessed by hands that once despised you. Prepare to walk on lands that once seemed impossible. Because when God backs one of His own, He does it so powerfully that even your enemies will have to acknowledge it. Don't be confused if you still feel doubt or fear. That's part of the process. The human mind is not used to accepting such deep and rapid changes. But your spirit already knows the truth. Your soul feels the vibration of what's coming. And that is the clearest sign you're on the right path. The discipline that saved you was not just willpower. It was a silent covenant with your divine essence, a commitment you made with yourself, the universe, and God. That discipline is now the foundation on which your new reality will be built. Remember every early morning you got up when you didn't want to. Every time you chose inner work over comfort. Every sacrifice no one saw, but God did recognize. Those are the hidden jewels in your crown of the chosen. The enemy tried to steal your peace, your confidence, your faith, but he failed. Because your chains were invisible, made of an inner strength no attack could break. That strength has kept you alive, protected you, and prepared you for what is now about to manifest. Don't let the noise of the world extinguish your light. You are a warrior of light, a chosen one with a purpose that transcends this physical reality. Every step you take, though invisible to many, is a step toward your divine destiny. Today, I invite you to take one more conscious step, to open your eyes to the miracle being formed in your life, to accept that you deserve the abundance, respect, and victory promised to you. And don't forget, this path isn't just for you. It's for those who will come after, for those watching from the shadows who need to see it's possible. That's why I ask you to share this message, to carry this truth to other chosen ones fighting in silence. Hit like if you feel something in you has awakened with these words. Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any spiritual activation that will change your life. And share this video so the message reaches all the warriors of light still waiting for their moment. Remember, the discipline no one valued was the very thing that saved your life today. And now, your reward begins.